How are you doing?
Great.
Good. I loved the first. I've only seen the first two episodes of the show so
Oh,
far,
really?
but it's really good. You can just tell, and just what it's just good old British TV show making. Like it's that kind
Yeah,
of like you can just it's just slowly the first episode all seems so light, and there were kind of moments where you're like, oh, where's this going to go? And then the bombshell, and I love it.
definitely. No, I mean, I loved it. The first time I remember I read the script, it was just, I didn't really know what I was kind of getting myself into because I read some of the scenes I was auditioning with and they were so kind of lighthearted. And then I'm reading the next scene and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's all about death. But I mean, it's actually a really beautiful, journey and story. So I feel really lucky I get to be a part of it.
Well, I'll begin my sort of first real question. Was what it was that initially attracted you to this part and to this project? What was the kind of the main draw for you?
So I think one of the main draws was the fact that Charlotte, the character, she's very kind of emotionally stifled, and I think that that's something really interesting to kind of play with, having a young girl who you would kind of presume to see as very vulnerable, kind of overly emotional. She's kind of the opposite. So she's just really not what you expect in so many ways. But I think also the comedy, I mean, it's such a funny show. It really is. And it's just, I mean, it's been a joy to film. But when you read the script, even on paper, I feel like there's a lot of scripts that you see them on paper and they're not as funny as they are when they're being acted out. But with this show, I mean, it's so funny just right off the bat on paper. I mean, I was just so excited to audition, to be honest.
Yeah, it was so funny. I almost felt bad for laughing sometimes. There were
I
scenes like
know.
in some certain situations, be it like a morgue or somewhere where you go, I shouldn't be laughing here, and I'm sat in there
Yeah.
almost like giggling to myself. But that was that came across in the screenplay then, did it? The kind of the humor in it.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think when I read the screenplay, I kind of just I really loved it because I think that it's kind of a it brings itself back to the roots of kind of dark humor, but in a way where it's still respectful. It's not like, I feel like a lot of the time nowadays dark humor can be kind of at someone else's expense, but in this show it's not really at anyone's expense. It's just at the expense of the situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which
No,
I think is actually really kind of, it's quite healthy. It proves to be quite healthy way of kind of processing grief and kind of dealing with things. Because I think people don't really kind of attach comedy and grief together, kind of a lot of the time. Like that's not two things that you would expect to kind of marry together so well. But I mean, it really does work, and especially from a writing standpoint. I mean, it makes the show so interesting. Because if everyone was all sad all the time, it wouldn't be the show that it is. It wouldn't be, the characters wouldn't be who they are.
yeah, your character's great because, like you said, I think she's lost her father, so you would anticipate, kind of these, big moments of kind of like crying and screaming and shouting, but it's all very kind of kept in. Was that in some ways even more challenging to play? Because obviously, I'm sure there's something very difficult about playing characters who have to really let go of their emotions and cry and scream and show all that grief, but you kind of had to show grief in a very understated, very subtle way. Was it quite a difficult thing to do?
So for me, I feel like a lot of the parts that I've played have been very kind of explosive in terms of emotionally. So you kind of just cry, let everything out. And with this character, I mean, I'm not that emotionally reserved, I think. I feel like being an actor, normally you're not. Um, but I think it was much more challenging, personally, for me at least, to play a character that has such difficulty like expressing her emotions and dealing with the fact that she even has emotions. I think it's interesting because I feel like that's something also that you see a lot of the time portrayed in male characters. So I think it's really interesting to see that in a young female character, because I think it's sort of, a lot of the male characters in the show are fine with dealing with their emotions, which is nice because it kind of breaks that kind of stereotype that men can't deal with their emotions and women can, because it's not really one way or the other. I mean, gender doesn't really come into it. It's just, everyone's individual mindset, which I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, it's true. But I was wondering too. I mean, Keely is she's one of our kind of like our greatest working actresses today. Everything she does is generally just absolutely brilliant. And you didn't just get to work with her on this, you got to work with her really closely. I mean, nearly every scene is with her, and in very kind of intimate situations, you know, kind of like being a mother sort of daughter situation. So how was it to work with Keely and to work that closely with someone who, yeah, in terms of like modern actresses, she's about as kind of good as they get at the moment on TV.
She is a joy to work with. I mean, she is genuinely so kind. She's so helpful, but she actually isn't just one of those actresses where they're really nice, but they kind of like sort of don't really give you any feedback or input. Because for me, that's something that's really helpful because I'm just starting out. So especially to get like feedback from her is amazing. So I mean, it was amazing to work with her, but it was kind of like an honor. I mean, I've seen her in like everything growing up, so it was really surreal getting to work with her and getting to be that close to her, like you said, because when you work with someone every day, kind of from first thing in the morning to last thing at night, you're spending. I mean, I was spending. There's a period of time when I was spending more time with her than I was with my actual mum, and I mean, you just genuinely get really close to someone. It's really nice because she's not one of those actors who shies away from that closeness. Like she genuinely gave me this amazing relationship, and that's why I think it was so easy to act with her, like as if she was my mum, because she was my on-set mum. So I mean, that's just yeah, she's great.
Yeah. And just on a side note, how was it working with Dominique? Because I went to school with Dominique. We went to we grew up in this. She was the year above me, but my mum and her mum were friends. So we've known since we were like 5 years old. So it was quite nice to see her get a part like this. But she's great, isn't she? This is, I mean, you can only answer this one way.
Oh my god, no, I genuinely, Dominique is one of the funniest, nicest people I've ever met in my life. She is just every day she would come on set, like she'd be joking constantly. She just kept the mood up so much. But she's also like so talented. So she'll be joking around and then she's got this scene where she's like crying and she just kind of goes from being really happy to kind of just snapping into it. And I'm like, I mean, she's so amazing. And I think getting to hear as well about all of her different stories. And I mean, we went to the same school. She went to Sylvia Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went to Sylvia Young too. So it was nice as well to get to talk with them, and so did Keely. So it was nice because we all got to talk about like the different experiences at the different times that we went there. And
Yeah.
stuff, so.
Well, Dominique was the first Nala in The Lion King on stage. So when we were at school, we all went to see it when the Lion King opened in the West End, and she was still at our school at the time because obviously she was just a kid. So all of our teachers were very proud.
That's so. Oh god, I bet she was amazing.
Yeah, she was. But I mean, obviously, just to keep going on about this wonderful cast, but there were times when you were sat in a room, not just with Keely and obviously like people like Dominique, but Nigel Havers, Joanna Lumley, Gemma Jones. I mean, this is British acting royalty, and I mean, obviously, you were naturally, because in that room you were the kind of youngest of the set. Were you almost like subconsciously just like looking around, just learning from? Because these, I mean, that was a room full of royalty, really.
I mean, so one of the people I think that I would say I was like ridiculously close to when shooting was Joanna.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I just like our personalities just click really well, and so I mean, she's genuinely so kind, but everyone is. I mean, I expected everyone to be nice, obviously. I didn't expect anyone to be mean, but I didn't expect them to be so nice to the point where it's like they feel like family and they listen to everything. I mean, they were so interested in my day because when we started filming, I was still in school. And they just asked me about the classes I had and, you know, what I was doing. But they just listened so intently. And it's like, it's crazy for me because I've seen these people growing up in everything on screen, and they're some of my biggest inspirations. I mean, especially Joanna with Absolutely Fabulous, and they're so kind, but they're also so I think unaware of the amazing effect that they have on people. Like they give everyone when you're speaking with them, they will give you their full undivided attention, which I think is just one of the kindest things you can do, especially when you're like that high up, I guess, you know, in acting. And for someone like me, that was just, I mean, that was all the encouragement I needed, really, was just getting to chat with them and, you know, just have that relationship.
In regards to some of the best characters in this. One of the most unpredictable characters is that bloody house that you guys are living in.
I
What
know.
I mean, this might just be the magic of TV, but what was the set like there? Because it looked like an incredible place to be in. Was all the kind of devices and the stuff, was it like that, or was it that just an illusion and I just fell for it?
No, so basically, it was really trippy, I will say. So the outside of the house and the exterior shots is a real person's house, except for like half of it, which was built on. But like this tiny part of it though. But the people who owned that house were so nice. They were this couple and they had this pug, and it's just so sweet. And then, but all the interior was made. So it's not the interior of that house. It was all in studio, and it was amazing. I mean, you got running water in the sink, you've got everything. I mean, the fireplace, you know, you can turn it on and turn it off, make it into an aquarium. You can make like the fireplace area into anything. Um, it was genuinely amazing, and it was my first experience working in kind of like a studio of that size, because they built the entire house. I mean, the upstairs and the downstairs were in two separate studio spaces, but it was really confusing because it looked so real that I would be thinking when I was in the upstairs studio that I needed to, you know, walk down the stairs to get out, when in reality they're both on the same level, they're just in different rooms. But it was that convincing that I think it actually, I mean, I definitely fell for it. So
Because obviously, I mean, this is launches, well, not launches, I'm so used to things being on like Netflix and stuff. This airs
yeah.
on the TV early next year. Have you got kind of plans to watch it with family or friends, or any kind of Zoom calls afterwards? Because obviously traditionally there might have been big casting through screenings and all that kind of chance for everyone to get together and have little kind of gatherings, but I guess now that's not doable. So I wondered if you had any of your own kind of ways or events planned to kind of to mark the first episode when it airs.
So I think we're doing, I mean, it really just depends on like the state of everything, but I'm assuming we're probably going to be doing like a Zoom call with the entire cast and stuff. But family wise, I'll probably, it depends on what the restrictions are, but I'll definitely have, you know, my mum, my dad, and my boyfriend come over and watch it, and we can just sit in the living room. And I mean, it's really surreal. It is quite an extraordinary experience. I'm kind of terrified, but I'm really excited at the same time. Um, I don't know. It's going to be really strange because I've never seen myself on TV for so long. Because normally the other things I've done on TV, I've been in and out of shot. Um, but I think it'll be really fun. I mean, to be honest, my ideal night in general is just kind of staying in and eating ice cream and stuff. So I'll probably just, you know, have some ice cream or some popcorn and just watch it with my family. But I mean, yeah. Oh, and my dog. Yeah.
Oh, you've got a dog. What dog have you got?
I've got a pug. Her
Oh,
name's
nice.
I had to put her out of the room though when we were doing this because she snores like really loud all the time.
Yeah, I got a puppy this summer, and she made a real habit of basically just disrupting every single big interview I had on Zoom.
Yeah.
So she doesn't, she's even out, she actually goes outside some of the time because that's how much of a nuisance she is. But anyway,
That's so cute.
but I was going to ask too, because obviously, like you said, you know, it's your first big thing on the telly. Does this feel a bit like the quiet before the storm? Because you've kind of like shot this, you've made it. For you, this is all kind of done. But
yeah.
This is still to come for most people. They haven't been, unless people have been aware of your kind of stage work. A lot of people, this is their introduction to you and your work. But so even though this is something that happened in your past, does it still feel quite weird that it's still, I don't know, like in a 6 weeks time, you could walk down the street in Soho and someone could be like, hey, can I get your autograph or something? Does this feel quite like a weird situation? Because I guess in some ways, even though your experience is finished in many ways, it's all still to come in another way.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly crazy. I've been doing a lot of because when we finished filming, I was kind of just, you know, oh, okay, what do I do now? And I've been doing loads of press stuff. So I've been doing lots of interviews and things for Finding Alice. And sometimes I've kind of got a bit of like imposter syndrome. I'm like, why am I here? Like, why are these people interviewing me? Like, I don't know why everyone wants to interview me. But then I kind of remember, I'm like, oh, well, I'm doing this show. Like, yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it does genuinely feel like so surreal. And I genuinely, it does feel like the calm before the storm. I mean, hopefully it's a good storm. But I mean, yeah, I just feel really lucky. I feel really lucky, no matter how people respond to me in the show. I mean, hopefully it's well, but I just feel really lucky to have been a part of it. And I mean, I hope I can continue to work and stuff, and just see where things take me. But I'm lucky because I can kind of take my time, I guess, because I'm quite small. I kind of forget sometimes. I'm like, oh, I need to keep working all the time, and then I kind of remember. I'm like, okay, it's fine. I can wait. The right thing will come when it comes, and yeah.
Because how has this year been for you? Because I guess acting is such a collective thing, and obviously you've done lots of stuff on stage, and you went to Sylvia Young, and the whole point of places like Sylvia Young, and the whole point to like stage productions, from your perspective, I'm sure, is it's not just giving audiences art, but it's the sharing feeling of being with part of like a troupe, part of a collective. And I guess this year, obviously, a lot of that's been shelved. Have you really missed that that feeling of being a part of something?
Definitely. I definitely missed it. I mean, I did a read through the other day at the Donmar, and it was amazing. I mean, I was only there for, one day, but it was just the sense of company was something that you just miss. I mean, it's just something you really miss, especially, it was great with Finding Alice because I was surrounded by these people that I'm such good friends with, and I get on with so well. But you really do take that for granted. Like when I went into lockdown, I was just kind of like, wow. I mean, so much of acting is just being with other people, and it's just, making friendships, because it's crazy. You have to think like all the time that you're not on screen, that's all time that you're just kind of, socializing and being with your friends. So that's such a big part of my life. And I didn't realize how big of a part of it was until lockdown, I would say. Definitely.
And I was just wondering, because you mentioned about, obviously, like it's still very much the early stages of your career, but my cousins are both getting into acting, and they've both done drama school. They're like 22, 23 sort of years old, and they're kind of doing bits and bobs here and there. One of them got a small part on a BBC thing. It's that kind of, but if someone says to them like, what do you do? They find it quite difficult to say actor, because it's one of those jobs. It's not like you want to be a doctor and you do 5 years medical school, you get a certificate, and then you say, I'm a doctor. Now with acting, it kind of, I just wondered, now you've done Finding Alice and obviously all your stage work, when someone says to you, Isabella, what do you do? Do you now feel like, yeah, this is my job, this is my career, or does it still not feel like that yet?
I think I was tentative to say it, I guess, I think before I got Finding Alice. But I feel like now I can kind of, even if I think it's made me realize, though, Finding Alice has made me realize, and quarantine and everything has made me realize that you don't have to be consistently, just because I'm not like technically filming something right now, it doesn't mean that I'm not an actor. And I think that that's something so important for other actors to remember, that even if, because I mean, it is going to be quiet, for a lot of people during this because of lockdown and stuff. I mean, everything's changed completely, especially in theatre and stuff. And just because like you're not working at the moment doesn't mean that you're not an actor. Because I mean, I always would say, when people ask me what I did, I think it's a bit different now because I've left school, but when I was younger, people would say, what do you do? And I would always say, I'm an actress, because I feel like the more you say it, the more you kind of believe it. And I don't know, like, I mean, there's so many actors out there that are amazing that aren't technically, working right at this moment. And I think that it's important for them to feel that they can say, yeah, I am an actor, like, that's what I do. And it's like what you're passionate about. I think there's quite a lot of power in being able to say that, because it makes you really, it's very validating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, George Clooney might not be working right now, but I'm pretty sure he's an actor.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, you mentioned obviously starting young. You got that Olivier Award nomination. What do you remember from that time? Was it, because obviously I'm guessing at the time it all felt like a bit of a blur, but now you've got a bit of distance. That's an incredible achievement to have that at your age. I mean, looking back, how brilliant a time was that, and how happy are you that you've kind of got that line on your resume or whatever? Because it's such it must be do wonders for you, I suppose.
It definitely, I mean, that nomination definitely has gotten me where I am today. But it was such an amazing experience. And I remember, I feel quite lucky in the sense that because I worked when I was younger, And also, even before I started acting properly, I moved around a lot. Um, I feel like a lot of people I speak to can't really remember their childhoods, but I'm really lucky in the sense that I've got these. I was really lucky that a lot of big things happened to me in my childhood. So those are some of my most memorable moments, when I was, 11. And so I can remember kind of everything. And I hope I will continue to remember everything when I'm older, because I feel like it is really special. Like I mean, I just never, it was surreal. It was my first experience. I mean, it was my first time being on the red carpet and having all these people take pictures of me. And I mean, it's crazy. Like the wall at the end of the red carpet, I can remember it. It was just this wall of cameras, like people just stacked on top of each other, just like flashing. And it was so crazy at the time. And now I look back on it and I don't know, I feel so lucky that I got to experience something like that so young, because it is a really magical thing. And it's just so cool to get to, look around and be surrounded by these people that you look up to so much. I think that's the best part about awards things, is that you get to meet people that you really idolize.
No, because it's funny, because when at my school, my teacher, when I was in year 5 or year 6 of primary school, he was really into like drama, and he managed to get our whole class to be extras in this scene in the West End where they needed loads of kids running around. And I had one line. I had to say one line in a West End show, just on like 2 nights in a row. And I went to school the next day like an absolute boss. I was like strolling around, like sticking my head, and I had one line. How did you manage the school and being at awards ceremonies and being in the West End? Because I mean, that's such a bizarre conflict, isn't it, to have kind of school and to be like kind of like an everyday kind of normal girl sort of settling into a new situation and being amongst kids your age, and then next thing you know, you're on a red carpet. That must have been a kind of bizarre thing, but a wonderful thing. But was it quite difficult, do you remember, kind of balancing those two?
It I feel like it would have been, but I was quite lucky because because I went to a stage school, I know that there's a lot of, sometimes people can have like a lot of stigma around like, stage schools and stuff. But I will say that when you're doing stuff like that, you go to school and like no one cares. Like everyone just treats you like whatever. Because I mean, there's so many people at that school that were doing insane things. I mean, I had a friend who would get sent fan mail like every day, and it just, I mean, the only reaction I ever got from her was that she was embarrassed, because she was like, "Oh God, don't send that to school. Everyone's gonna tease me." But I mean, I think it was actually a really good experience. I think it was good that no one kind of made a big deal out of it in a way, because I feel like then it's quite easy to kind of get your ego a bit inflated. And like I'm very happy that I did not have that, because I feel like that's just the worst thing, is when it's like you see like a really cocky child walking around.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh.
But my final question really is just looking ahead to next year. Obviously, this year was a bit mad and bonkers, and obviously your 2021 is starting off pretty amazingly for you with Finding Alice. But how is 2021 as a whole looking for you? Have you got much lined up or anything you kind of got your eye on for next year?
Yeah, so I'm in the process of auditioning and like being seen for like a few projects that would be life changing. I mean, they would be amazing. They're like kind of like Finding Alice like level things. And I mean, it's crazy. I feel really lucky that I've gotten Finding Alice, because I feel like it's really opened me up to a lot of new possibilities, and a lot of scripts I kind of wouldn't have gotten sent before. I'm now being able to audition for. So it's really amazing. It's like opened up a lot of doors for me in terms of auditions. Um, but yeah, I mean, my dream for 2021 would be to get to like do a season 2 or something of Finding Alice, because I love the cast so much. It would be so fun. But I mean, I think I'm quite lucky, because I used to always want to know what was coming next. And now that I'm not in school, I just focus on acting. I kind of can appreciate how I'm lucky, because I live with my parents. But I'm learning to appreciate how spontaneous it is, because I think that's part of what makes it so amazing and so fun and just new and exciting.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I'm looking forward, hoping for season 2 myself. But like I said, I'm only 2 episodes in, and I already want to spend more time in that room.
Oh no, I can't wait to see your reaction, because I think my favorite episodes are probably a lot happens in episode 6. In the last episode, like so much happens. So that's probably my favorite episode.
That's the thing about doing press interviews, doing press interviews in advance, is sometimes they give you like 2 episodes, and then you've got to wait like 2 months to watch the rest of them. So I just have to sit here being like, I've seen 2 episodes and I've got to wait ages for episode 3. But I'm looking forward to it. I know it's the sort of thing my mum and dad are going to love as well. So I'll probably go.
I'm happy. I think it's a great show because it just reaches across it's got something for like every generation.
Yeah,
you know?
Brilliant. Well, hopefully, if there is a season 2, we can do interviews like this in person when the world goes
back
to normal. All right. Well, best of luck with the release, and hope you enjoy watching it at home with your parents and stuff, and your pug. And I'm sure one day we'll meet again. I
would love that, definitely. And thank you so much for interviewing me.
No. Thanks for speaking to me. I think it's a great performance and a great show. So it's our privilege.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!